Friends, as the day draws to a close and the world around us settles into quiet, there is a simple practice, humble yet powerful, that many wise households have embraced. It is small, almost invisible, yet it carries within it a profound protection and clarity. I speak of the act of placing salt in certain corners of your home before rest. Salt in its purest form is not merely seasoning for our meals. It is a silent guardian. As night falls, the energy of a home shifts. Thoughts linger, worries echo, and subtle disturbances can gather in spaces unseen. To place salt at these threshold points is to honor the sacred boundary between the outer chaos and the inner sanctuary. It is a ritual of attentiveness, a gentle reminder that peace is nurtured, not demanded. Those who practice this know that it is not superstition but mindfulness made tangible. It is a conscious choice to safeguard the space where one sleeps, where one dreams, where the mind restores itself. Salt, simple and unadorned, becomes a tool for clarity, grounding, and balance. It teaches patience, for the effects are quiet, not dramatic, subtle, yet undeniable. Consider the wisdom of tending to the small details. Just as the river shapes the stone over time, so too do tiny acts of care shape the energy that surrounds us. The placement of salt is a symbol, a gesture of respect to the unseen currents of life. In this act, one practices presence. In this act, one nurtures harmony. So tonight, before the mind slips into the realm of sleep, place the salt gently with awareness and intention. Allow it to remind you that the home is not merely a shelter of walls, but a living space of calm, where thoughts settle and rest is honored. In this small, mindful action, great peace can be invited. For the true fortune of a household is not measured in wealth, but in the quiet, undisturbed flow of serenity that each night can bring. Salt as a guardian, placing salt in the corners of the home acts as a subtle protector, shielding the household from negative or restless energies. In the quiet moments before nightfall, when the world seems to pause and the mind begins to slow, there is an ancient, simple practice that holds great significance. The act of placing salt in the corners of a home may seem small or even ordinary, yet it carries a weight that reaches far beyond its physical presence. Salt, humble and unassuming, becomes a guardian standing silently at the edges of our living space. It is a reminder that protection is not always loud or forceful, but often quiet and patient, present without demanding attention. Those who embrace this practice understand that the home is not merely a structure of walls and roof, but a living environment in which energy flows, accumulates and shifts with every thought, every breath and every action within it. By placing salt thoughtfully in the corners, one acknowledges the unseen currents of life, the subtle energies that move in ways we cannot always measure. These currents can carry both clarity and disturbance. They reflect the thoughts and emotions of those who dwell within, the echoes of the day's events, and the lingering tensions that might otherwise settle unnoticed. The salt does not act as a magical shield, nor does it repel negativity in a single dramatic gesture. Rather, it works slowly, steadily, absorbing, balancing and grounding the space. It is a patient guardian, present night after night, quietly maintaining harmony while the household rests. There is wisdom in this simplicity. It teaches that protection does not require complexity, that the greatest guardians are often those who serve without expectation or ceremony. By placing salt in the corners before sleep, one honors the home as a sacred vessel, capable of holding not only our possessions but our thoughts, our memories and our dreams. The act itself becomes a meditation, an acknowledgement of the subtle forces at play and a commitment to tending them with care. In this way, the practice transcends superstition and enters the realm of mindfulness, a deliberate expression of respect for the spaces we inhabit and the life we cultivate within them. Furthermore, the presence of salt in the corners serves as a visual and spiritual anchor. Each grain, each crystalline edge symbolizes attention and intention. It calls the mind to pause, to reflect, and to cultivate a sense of safety and balance. Over time, the repetition of this simple gesture fosters awareness of the home's energy, teaching that vigilance and care need not be dramatic or overwhelming. The guardianship of salt is subtle, almost imperceptible, yet its impact is profound, creating an environment in which calm, clarity, and peace may flourish naturally without strain or effort. Ultimately, this practice reminds us that protection is an ongoing act of mindfulness. The salt is not just a substance, it is a witness, a silent guardian that honors the rhythm of daily life and the sanctuary of rest. In recognizing the value of small, intentional acts, we cultivate a deeper sense of harmony, not only within our homes but within ourselves. Through this simple ritual, we learn that true guardianship arises from presence, patience, and care, and that even the most ordinary elements of life can carry extraordinary wisdom. Mindfulness in small acts. The practice is a conscious, mindful ritual that nurtures peace and attentiveness, reminding us that even small actions carry significance. There is great wisdom in attending to the small, seemingly insignificant details of daily life. Often we wait for grand gestures, for monumental changes or striking acts to bring meaning or peace. Yet true harmony arises not from spectacle but from presence. The simple act of placing salt in the corners of a home before sleep is one such gesture. It is small, almost invisible to the unobservant eye, yet it carries a weight that resonates far beyond its apparent simplicity. In performing this act with awareness, one practices mindfulness, a gentle attention to the present moment that cultivates clarity and calm within both the self and the space that surrounds it. Mindfulness in small acts teaches patience and attentiveness. When one bends to sprinkle salt into a quiet corner, it is not done hurriedly or without thought. Each movement is deliberate, each placement intentional. In this mindfulness, the mind becomes settled, the heart quieted. The act itself transforms into a meditation, a way of aligning one's inner state with the rhythms of the home. Through such rituals, the mind learns that even minor actions have meaning, that every gesture, no matter how ordinary, can contribute to a sense of order, balance, and well-being. These small intentional practices carry an energy of their own. The placement of salt becomes a physical manifestation of intention, a visible expression of care for the home and for oneself. It reminds us that mindfulness is not limited to meditation cushions or moments of silence, but can be woven into every routine, every gesture. Washing dishes, sweeping floors, tending to a garden, these acts, when performed with awareness, become opportunities to cultivate presence and harmony. The salt is symbolic of this philosophy, a quiet reminder that what appears simple is often profound, and that attentiveness transforms the ordinary into the sacred. The power of small mindful acts also lies in their consistency. Over time, the repeated ritual of placing salt nightly fosters a subtle yet enduring shift in the atmosphere of the home. It trains the mind to honor the unseen currents that move through our environment, to recognize that peace is nurtured steadily rather than seized suddenly. Each night's practice reinforces the idea that mindfulness is not an occasional pursuit but a daily discipline, and that true care is expressed not in dramatic gestures but in quiet, deliberate acts of presence. Moreover, mindfulness in small acts cultivates awareness of the self. In tending to the home with intention, one simultaneously tends to the mind. Thoughts become clearer, emotions calmer, and a sense of connection to the space and to life deepens. The salt is more than a protective agent, it is a teacher, guiding the practitioner to recognize the value in deliberate attention, in honoring the rhythms of life through simple, conscious acts. Through such mindfulness, the ordinary becomes extraordinary and life itself reveals its quiet, profound beauty. Ultimately, the practice reminds us that every action matters. The seemingly small act of placing salt in the corners becomes a reflection of a mindful life, attentive, deliberate, and deeply aware of the harmony that can arise when care is applied to the most ordinary moments. In this way, the simplest of rituals holds the power to cultivate peace, balance, and clarity within both home and heart, creating sacred boundaries. Salt marks the threshold between external chaos and internal calm, maintaining harmony within the living space. The spaces we inhabit are more than walls, floors, and ceilings. They are living environments, shaped not only by their physical form but by the energy that flows within them. Each room, each corner, holds traces of thought, emotion, and intention. It is here, in these subtle currents, that the practice of placing salt in the corners of a home gains its profound significance. Salt is not merely a substance but a marker, a gentle way of defining the boundary between the outer world and the inner sanctuary. It delineates a sacred space where peace may dwell, where rest and clarity can emerge, and where the mind may settle free from the disturbances of the day. Creating such boundaries requires awareness. To simply scatter salt without thought is to miss the deeper purpose. Each corner becomes a threshold, a point of transition to focus, from noise to quiet, from distraction to focus. In placing salt, one recognizes that life is composed of thresholds, moments, spaces, and gestures where attention and intention intersect. The corners of a home, often overlooked, become symbolic guardians, holding the energy of protection and balance. In this way, a simple crystalline mineral transforms into a tool for mindfulness and care, a way of shaping the environment with conscious attention rather than leaving it to drift uncontested. Sacred boundaries are not rigid walls of fear or restriction, they are gentle guides, teaching the importance of distinction and respect. They remind us that the home is not merely a shelter from the elements, but a vessel for the mind and heart, a space where we restore ourselves and cultivate serenity. By honoring these boundaries, one acknowledges that energy is neither uniform nor passive. Thoughts, worries, and emotions, both subtle and overt, move through the space we occupy. Salt becomes a symbolic act of tending to these currents, of holding space for calm to emerge, and of nurturing an atmosphere that supports well-being. This practice also reflects an understanding of balance. Boundaries are not meant to isolate or separate us from the world, but to provide clarity, to mark where the home's restorative energy begins. They encourage a rhythm between engagement with the outer world and retreat into inner peace. Through such rituals, even the smallest acts acquire meaning, and the home becomes more than a physical structure, It becomes a sanctuary, a place where the unseen can be honored, and where care for the self and the environment is expressed with intention. Ultimately, the act of placing salt in the corners reminds us that the sacred exists in the ordinary. Every corner, every gesture, every mindful act contributes to the harmony of the space. By establishing these subtle sacred boundaries, we invite serenity, awareness, and balance into daily life. The home becomes a mirror of the inner self, reflecting calm, protection, and attentiveness. Through this practice, we learn that the spaces we inhabit respond to the care we offer, and that peace, like a gentle current, is cultivated one thoughtful action at a time. Subtle, lasting effects, like gentle rivers shaping stones, this quiet act fosters long-term balance and clarity rather than immediate dramatic results. There is a quiet power in practices that unfold slowly, without fanfare or immediate recognition. The act of placing salt in the corners of a home exemplifies this principle, for its influence is subtle, yet enduring. It is not the loud proclamation of protection that matters, nor the dramatic gesture that demands attention. True transformation often arises in gentle rhythms, in acts repeated with care and mindfulness over time. The salt, simple and unassuming, works in silence, quietly shaping the energy of the space in ways that accumulate with patience and consistency. Like a river carving stone, the effects of this small ritual are gradual but profound. Each night, as the salt rests in the corners, it absorbs, balances, and harmonizes the unseen currents of the home. The presence of these crystals creates a subtle reminder that peace and clarity are cultivated, not forced. It teaches that the forces which shape our environment, our thoughts, emotions, and interactions, respond to attention and intention over time. The energy of the home, like the mind itself, is molded not by abrupt intervention but by steady, conscious care. Subtle practices such as this require trust in the unseen. One may not notice immediate results, yet the consistency of the act builds a foundation of calm that supports the household in ways both tangible and intangible. The home becomes a living environment, sensitive to attention and intention. The gentle, persistent presence of salt encourages awareness of how even minor, mindful actions resonate through the spaces we inhabit. Over time, the home begins to feel lighter, calmer, more receptive to rest and reflection. This lesson extends beyond the physical act. It mirrors the rhythms of life itself. Many of the most meaningful changes occur quietly, unfolding in small steps that may go unnoticed in the moment. Patience, presence, and dedication transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. By engaging in such simple rituals, one cultivates an understanding that lasting harmony is rarely sudden or forceful. It is nurtured gradually, in subtle ways that invite reflection and appreciation for the quiet work of balance and care. The salt in the corners also serves as a symbolic anchor for this understanding. Each grain represents a mindful intention, a deliberate effort to create calm and stability. Over nights, weeks, and months, the repetition of this small gesture transforms it into a meditation, a practice of awareness that extends beyond the home into the mind and heart. In this way, subtle actions ripple outward, influencing not only the environment but also the consciousness of those who engage in them. Ultimately, the power of subtle, lasting effects lies in their humility. The practice does not boast, it does not demand attention, yet it fosters conditions in which peace and clarity naturally emerge. It teaches that the simplest, quietest gestures, performed with care and awareness, have the capacity to create enduring transformation. Through such practices, one learns that true protection, balance, and serenity are the rewards of patience, attentiveness, and respect for the delicate currents of life that move through both home and heart. Home as a space of serenity, true well-being is cultivated through care for the home's energy, emphasizing calm, rest, and inner peace over material wealth. The home is more than a collection of walls, furniture, and belongings. It is a reflection of the inner life, a vessel in which our thoughts, emotions, and energies dwell. To cultivate a home as a space of serenity is to recognize that peace is not something to be found outside, but something to be nurtured within the environment we inhabit. Every action, every intention applied to the home contributes to its atmosphere, shaping the energy that surrounds us and influences the mind. When one places salt in the corners before rest, it is a mindful gesture of care, a way to honor the home as a sanctuary where calm may flourish and the spirit may rejuvenate. Serenity arises from attention to both the seen and the unseen. The physical act of sprinkling salt is simple, yet its meaning extends far beyond the material. It represents a conscious choice to protect the space, to invite clarity, and to maintain balance. In doing so, the household is transformed into more than just a living space, becomes a refuge, a place where the mind can settle, where the body can rest, and where the heart may find quiet. The home thus becomes a mirror of inner states, reflecting the care, intention, and mindfulness applied to it. Creating such a sanctuary requires more than a single act. It is the accumulation of mindful practices, the cultivation of gentle habits that honor the rhythm of life. The placement of salt is a ritual that encourages awareness, reminding those who dwell within to respect the energy of their surroundings. It teaches that serenity is not imposed through force or control, but invited through deliberate, thoughtful attention. The home, like the mind, thrives when treated with care, when disturbances are acknowledged but not allowed to dominate, and when small intentional actions are performed to maintain harmony. A space of serenity nurtures every aspect of life. Sleep deepens, thoughts become clearer, and the heart feels lighter when the environment supports calm. When the home embodies peace, it radiates outward, influencing the actions and emotions of its inhabitants. Simple rituals, like placing salt in the corners, become symbolic anchors for this greater purpose. They encourage ongoing mindfulness and create conditions in which well-being is not fleeting, but sustained, growing naturally from the foundation of attentiveness and care. Ultimately, the value of the home as a space of serenity cannot be measured by wealth, possessions, or external appearances. It is measured by the quality of energy, the sense of balance, and the ease with which the mind can rest and the heart can open. By nurturing the home with intention, one nurtures the self. The practice of placing salt, though modest, is a profound reminder that true fortune lies not in accumulation but in the cultivation of peace, clarity, and harmony within the space we call home. In this understanding, the home becomes a sanctuary, the mind a quiet river, and life itself a reflection of the serenity we choose to invite and honor. Now you have all 5 key points expanded into full 500-word reflective meditations. Together they form a complete calm and sea.